Hi, I'm Evie Ohmsgirl, and this is my interview series, Sacred Water Visionary Women of Freedom. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Nichole on so we can get started with her. My hair is a little, and I'm not wearing makeup, but I have my beauty water in hand. Hi, Nichole.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So this is the first time we're meeting is actually here. I mean, we've spoken in Messenger, but I love that we get to meet, such incredible women and men, but especially I feel like, I personally resonate a lot with women's stories and with women. So, yeah, I felt really connected to you just in the group chat and then also just sharing a bit of, each of our stories and talking about holistic health and things like that. And it seems like you have a very potent story in regards to your healing, health wise. And then now you're really thriving in the business. Like you just had an incredible month. Yeah. So can we start with your health journey and then we'll get to your incredible, just momentum with the business and what it's doing for you?
Because they go hand in hand for sure. It's us as a
Absolutely.
whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I had a really rough childhood and went from, being the caretaker to my parents who were hooked on drugs and alcohol to then being a 911 dispatcher at like 20 years old. So I instead of like dealing with my own trauma, I then took on everybody else's trauma. And I did that for like 20 years, and it caused a lot of problems with my body. So I got diagnosed when I was 21 with ulcerative colitis, which, if you're not familiar, which I'm sure you are, but for the audience, it's a awful disease, awful. It controlled like every aspect of my life. And for the most part, I dealt with it, but I was told I was going to be on medication the rest of my life. And at 21, that was really shocking and not something I wanted to accept, and I didn't. I started looking into homeopathic methods and, just really like trying to figure out what other ways I could heal myself.
Yeah.
Because, what always came back to me was like, why if something is attacking my body inside my body, then something is wrong in my body. So it's like, why would a medication help that? So
Yeah.
anyways, we could talk all day about that
Yeah.
stuff,
But
but
you knew intuitively there was some kind of root cause at the end of the day, which
yeah,
holistic, whereas, yeah, with medication, it often works on the symptoms, but it doesn't actually get to the root cause. So that it's like
yeah.
something's going on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so for years I kind of went through this period of like getting better, being in remission, and then it would come back and I'd have like a full-on horrible flare. And then in 2013 it got really bad. Like 2013 is when I had my daughter in 2008, and 2013 was really just kind of I don't know. It was just like all this chronic pain started happening, like all of this, just a lot of mental health stuff was going on with me. I was really depressed. I was feeling a lot of resentment from not being able to be with my daughter, having to work so much. And
So
yeah, it
she
just
was
kind of,
5 years old at the time, five or yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, and I've been a single mom since I had her. So it's been a lot to, I also don't have parents. They passed away. So it's been a lot to raise her by myself and have like the weight of the world on my shoulders and needing this like thinking I needed this big career to support us. But yeah, it just kind of all came at me at once, and I just was like, I need a break. And so I actually went off in 2015. I went off work for workers' comp, and I think she was like maybe 6 or 7 at that point. I'm trying to do math in my head, but I basically was in bed a lot. I wasn't able to get her to school on time. I was like really, really struggling. I had gone on what they call biologics because everything homeopathic wasn't really helping. Like it would help a little bit, but it would always come back. There was nothing that just kind of like worked. So I was so desperate to get better. I was doing biologics. So it's like the Entyvio or Remicade or things like that, if you've heard this pharmaceutical stuff. And basically what it does is kills your immune system. So I would
Wow.
trade, yeah, like I was trading like symptoms of the disease for then side effects of the medication. So I was like having one problem one day and then another problem the next day. And it just became a cycle of like doom. I was miserable. I gained a bunch of weight. Um, the steroids at that point weren't working. And so that's why they moved me to biologics. But I hated all of it. I hated the steroids. I hated the medications, for that I'd have to go and get it in my veins every 4 to 6 weeks. Like it was just
Wow.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which sounds very invasive too. Like,
yeah. And then, you're exposed to like things that you don't really normally would see at my young age. Like I was sitting next to people that were having chemo and people that were having blood transfusions and all kinds of things, and it's such a depressing like state, to be in.
Mhm.
And so fast forward a few years, I I ended up somebody told me about the water and I was like, yeah, okay, water. Like, what's that
Yeah.
going to do for me?
Yeah. It
You
can be
know?
so overlooked. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're not when you've never been taught something, like it seems so foreign, And so
Yeah.
I was just like, well, what do I have to lose? Like, let me look into this. And I started like I'm like a science nerd. So I started
Yeah.
doing like all the research, like the PubMed, like all the things, because I just wanted to make sure that what I was like, how I was hearing it was how it was and
Yes.
how like there was science to back it up because I'm kind of like, yeah, anybody can say that, a product works, but like, I just really wanted to like understand it and understand the system. And so, yeah, so once I like understood it, it became super clear to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a no-brainer. And it makes so much sense. Like you know, all of the light bulbs started going off. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm like chronically dehydrated. Like, oh my gosh, I'm chronically like inflamed, with all of this acidic stuff that's in our food and all that stuff,
Yes.
so yeah, so I bought a machine and then I had
Had you
actually
tried
found
it
out,
before you bought it, or you just went in
no,
once you did all the research?
yep, yep. I
Cool.
just was
Okay.
like, I'm 100% on board. Like I just
Yeah.
knew what was the worst that could happen. I'd get hydrated,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
so I was
And
like, I have
ultimately with the science, what was it about the science? Like, was it because of the hydrogen? Was it like the molecular structure? Was it the microclustering, or what was it that felt like, okay, this is a fuck yes, like PubMed says,
yes.
like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
curious what about the
Yeah, yeah.
science.
Yeah, it was the molecular hydrogen for sure because I started really looking into how, the research that had started in 2007 about molecular hydrogen and just how important it really is, like the most potent,
Antioxidant.
antioxidant that we can, yeah, give our body. And just when I saw the comparison of like 1 glass of Kangen water compared to 3 cups of blueberries, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like
Yeah.
nobody's gonna sit and eat 3 cups of blueberries. They get a stomach ache, So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm a very like, I'm a very intuitive person, and like once I
Mhm.
feel it and I
Yeah.
know that I'm gonna do it, I'm all in. Like, there's
Yeah, me
not like,
too.
yeah, I'm not like a, if I'm like a, I don't know, then I'm not all in yet,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah. So
love
no, I
that.
didn't try it. Yeah, yeah, me too.
And
So,
did you know the person, or you just met them
no,
online?
I found them online. Yeah.
Okay,
Or they
cool.
found me. Like they were just, I found their page and they were just like talking to me about it. And I was like, what? So yeah,
Cool.
complete stranger, which is
Yeah.
like amazing, right? How
Yeah,
many
yeah,
of
yeah.
us
Yeah.
have done it that way where we're like, oh my gosh, a complete stranger. And yet
Yeah.
now I'm
I
like
met my
working
sponsor
with them.
online as well, and she cold messaged me because sometimes I do cold messages. People are like,
Yeah.
cold message. I'm like, I've met so many amazing
Yeah.
people, both ways, me cold messaging or them cold messaging me. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's just good to be open because you just never
Yeah.
know. And, so yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and I'm such a people person. Like
Me
I
too.
like love learning people's like history and their background and like all the things they've been like it's just fascinating to me,
Me too.
And
Yeah.
I'm also like obsessed with the brain. So I'm like, oh my gosh, now that totally makes sense like why this person does this, or whatever.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I went all in and bought my machine. And at the time, also, let me back up a little bit. I had gone through bankruptcy because I was at a point in where I was like off work on workers' comp, but workers' comp was playing games and they weren't accepting my case yet. And so I was getting like hardly any pay. I had to go into
Um,
like, yeah, to like get the long-term disability it's a whole story, but we didn't pay
Where were you
into.
located, if I may ask?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm in the Bay Area, California.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. And that's where it
Yeah.
was that you're experiencing all of this in California. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, we didn't pay into state disability at my job, so I was kind of like limited to my resources, and I was used to making like six figures no problem, to then being like, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to support us?" And so anyways, I had filed bankruptcy because I had all this debt of like, trying to maintain the lifestyle we were used to on like a third of the income.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah, it was hard. So what I loved though about our company is that I could finance the machine
Yeah.
and, get it that way, and make the payments to where I didn't have to come up with like this huge amount of money
Yeah.
at the time. Like now I don't think 5K is nothing, I don't think it's like a huge amount of money but anymore, but like at the time I was like, whoa. um
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
And they
And
don't check your
so
credit score, which is also nice because if you're going through
yes.
that, so you just have to
Right,
find a
because I
little bit down, but then the monthly, yeah, that's what my husband
yeah,
did actually for the Inespa too. So I love that.
yeah, yeah, because I couldn't get a credit card, and like I think that's the number one thing that stops people is like they hear the amount and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I could never." But once you like see your options and you see there are so many different ways you can get financed, like even
Yeah.
if you have bad credit, like there's so many different options out there that I think people just don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And I
yeah, so
also feel like
that's
sometimes it's easy to, like it's like we think, whoa, because we're not used to having a water ionizer that's like 5, 6K, which I
mhm.
understand. But then also to me, I'm often like, look at the cancer industry. Like in this
Yes.
country, it's so easy to go bankrupt in a very short amount of time, not even doing something natural. Like
Mhm.
over 100K is normal to spend.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
actually, a $5,000 machine that's giving you amazing health, 100 different uses for your home to reduce waste, all the things, and you're
Yeah.
going to have it 25 to 30 years. Actually, that's not that, you know what
It's
I mean?
like
I just feel like we're
46 cents
not
a day.
used to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not used to water
Mhm.
ionizer in this way, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think people like too, if they don't know something, they're just like, sadly, they just go automatically to like, what's the catch? And
Right.
it's sad because it's like, but then if you're in my situation and people who've gone
Yes.
through like horrible health and like, battling all the things, like you get to a point where you're like, I don't care how much it costs. And
Yes.
your health and being healthy and being able to live your life freely is
Yeah.
like, there's no freaking price tag on that, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's the true wealth. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know
Mm-hmm.
I had hypothyroid and yeah, anyways, long
Mm,
story short, yeah, I definitely came back to that because I was in nutrition school, but I didn't really experience the symptoms until, and I was just exhausted and doing all the things. And that's actually when I first came across the water. But until you experience such a kind of rock bottom or a low,
yes.
yeah, it's like it's easy to kind of overlook
Mm-hmm.
the abundance of health, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think I need to interview you too because one of my friends is
Sure.
actually going through the thyroid
Okay.
stuff. And yeah, I'd love to like we can dive into more of that
Yeah,
too. And
for
I love
sure.
hearing everybody's stories for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, so back when I got my machine, this was like 2020, and I started drinking the water, and I also got the Ukon, the high potency
Amazing.
turmeric. Yeah, that's made grown in Japan and made or grown with the
In the
Kangen
Kangen
water.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And within 2 weeks of and obviously this isn't a medical claim, this is just my like
Yeah.
personal experience with it. Um, I, within 2 weeks of drinking just the water, like I cut out all of all the crap that I was like sodas, juices, anything like that. And I didn't change my food yet. I was still kind of like, that's always been a hard thing for me, and we can talk more about that too. But changing my food and the way I ate, I really have realized over the last few years that it's more about like the stress that I'm not dealing with and like the unhealed trauma that
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm like feeding my emotions. So
Yeah.
yeah, but anyways, I hadn't changed my food yet, and I was just doing the water and the Ukon. I was taking like maybe five at that point a day,
Oh, wow.
and now I take 10. I take five in the morning and five,
Wow. Good for
yeah, in
you.
the evening.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
totally,
actually
it's a game
ordered some
changer.
more because I got some. I have the tea, but yeah, I've never had that many amount, but that's amazing. Good for
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah, and everybody's like at first, like people that aren't in our community, they were like, like our family and friends, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think you should be taking that much," and I'm like, "Well, how do you know? Like, what, show me something that says I can't, and
Yeah.
and
And if
nobody could.
intuitively that feels right for you and your body too, like
Yeah.
you're gonna know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I never had any complications, and I actually was able to get off of all the prescription medications, and
Amazing.
that was over 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it only took a couple weeks for my body to get
Wow.
back into, its
The
origin.
homeostasis. Yeah.
Yeah, and and reading like all of the science and like learning the machine and how it works, it just makes so much sense that like once we give our cells the hydrogen and the oxygen that they need, they
Yeah.
literally know how to heal themselves, and our
Absolutely.
bodies know how to heal itself. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's
So that's my
amazing.
story with the water and the
Yeah.
and
Thank
the
you.
Ukon. Yeah.
So then, when you started healing, is that when you begun to share it? You're like, I have to share this, or what bridged, your empowerment story with your health to then go and start to kind of do a brand and share more about it to,
Yeah.
be of service with the water and with the Ukon, with the products that we have.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like super passionate about helping people. I always have been, and I think it's just kind of like my nature, given the career I was in for so long, But yeah, when I saw that what this did for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like so many people could heal their own autoimmune diseases if they just had the right tools and the right, the products. And it was like a no-brainer. I was like, wait, I can serve others and make incredible amount of money off of this.
Yeah.
Like what? And again, I was like, what's the catch? Like how does, it just doesn't seem like, how would I not know about this all these years ago? It could have saved me so much stress and just, heartache of missing so much time with my daughter, and so yeah, I just became super passionate about helping single moms and anybody with, stomach issues. I will have to say though, I found there are two types of people in this world. One type who does not really care about healing themselves. They just want to complain about it.
Yeah.
And then
Agreed.
and then the other side of things, the other person is like, no, I want to do whatever it takes to get better and,
Yeah.
at any cost. And so
Yeah.
it's really kind of in my first conversation with people, I can tell what if they're, you know, and a lot of it is
Mhm.
just working through that mindset, which is what I'm also like obsessed with, is like teaching people how to get past those limiting beliefs and just really work on, the subconscious mind and just really understanding how its total design is to keep us safe, and anything that's not that we've not experienced in the past is unsafe, to
Yeah.
our mind, and it just
Yeah.
kind of like really stunts us and keeps us small, if we let it. So
Are you in
um,
Ray's course right now? Are you doing Ray's container?
I am,
Yeah,
yeah,
so when
I
he was
am.
talking about the self-sabotage and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, I
Yes,
that
yeah,
blew my mind because it's true. Yeah, we can, you know what I mean, have these limiting beliefs. The book The Big Leap, it talks a lot
yes,
about limiting beliefs that way too. And it's like programs that are in the back of our mind, which we don't even realize they're programs until we bring it to the awareness and consciousness.
yeah,
And it can happen with money stories, it can happen with healing
mm-hmm.
our health, it can happen with
Yeah,
so many things. Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah,
relationships, so much, even with
mm-hmm.
food, as you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
it can be so
Yeah,
easy to just, all those things.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So objection wise with people, like I love what you said that you've noticed there are more or less two people where one is
mm-hmm.
like willing to do anything to heal and the other one. What about in regards to cost or other objections? How do you navigate that where you want to be helpful, but then at the same
Yeah.
time, some people either just kind of have to sit on it in a while. Some people like yourself do the research. Other people, like, how do you navigate kind of the individual
Yeah.
needs of people to be helpful in that way?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that in the beginning I felt a little bit more like desperate, I would say, where like
Yeah.
I wanted to help somebody so bad that it came across a bit as like pushy.
Yeah.
And so I really had to like take a look at how I was approaching people, because I mean, it just became super clear that I can't want this for anybody more than they want it for themselves,
Yes.
whether it's
Yeah.
the health or the business or anything in life.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when I really started diving deep into like our brain and the
Mm,
subconscious and stuff, and that has really allowed me to kind of like bring awareness to other people. Like sometimes people aren't even aware of what the words that they're using or
Yes.
things that they're saying, or um, I always try to say like, what's the solution, when somebody's complaining about things, my teenage daughter especially, because it's like, okay, what's the solution? What are you going to do about that? Like, how can you, that way we can kind of like prompt the brain to think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that. I might start using that. What's the solution?
yeah,
Yeah.
what's
I
the
love that.
solution?
Yeah. Because it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
simple, but it really, like you said, can prompt the brain. Yeah.
Yeah, or like what's your plan? Like how do you, how are you going to handle this? That's a big one because I think too you can't make it be your idea. Like they have
Right.
to want this and they have to want to do the work because and I think that like what I talk about too is like there's not so many like you see these big wigs, in our community and other, community worldwide where people are making tons of money, but they don't actually talk about like what they did to get there. And like it's
Right.
so much interpersonal development, like so
It
much.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just really try to like with my leads, like I help them understand like those limiting beliefs and why they're coming up because I think that's a
Love
big
that.
aha moment for people that they're like, oh wow, I never even actually thought about it that way.
I love that.
Um,
Do you
yeah, and
use
I
a
just
lot of
work.
Dr. Joe Dispenza kind of
Yep,
techniques or?
love
Yeah.
him, love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, love him. I'm like obsessed with him.
I know, me too. He's amazing. Yeah.
Did you watch the Heal documentary on Netflix?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
like
I don't know if
when
that's
I
where I first came across him or if it was in our community. I don't know, but he's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I heard his story, I was just like, oh my goodness, how in the world can somebody like that just shows how powerful our brain is, that he
Yes.
could heal himself from broken back in
Yeah.
multiple vertebrae to healing himself completely through the mind. Like
Yes.
it's actually like hard to believe if you haven't done any personal development work.
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
power of
so
so many people doing different meditations that he, helps to kind of prompt and really
yeah.
doing some really deep healing from stage 4 cancer. And it just again shows the
Yes.
power of healing with the right environment, whether it is working with the mind, working with the body, with the water. There's just
Yes.
so many ways of
Mm-hmm.
being able to really heal at the root, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And yeah, and so back to your question, I've really kind of stepped into I know we have the golden ticket. There's not a
Yeah.
doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm 100% sold on the products. My belief is so strong. Nobody could ever tell me like, that this is a gimmick or it doesn't work or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like walking proof that this is actually legit.
Yes.
And so yeah, I think my belief has just become so strong that I don't, I just quickly move on. Like if somebody's giving me a lot of objections, I used to spend a lot of time and like try to get them to see, my point of view
Yes.
or to understand. I'd send them tons of resources and I was just like, what am I doing? I'm literally wasting
Yeah.
my time, like
Yeah.
next, next,
Yes.
like let me just move on to somebody who has a little bit more open mindset. And that's really what I
Yes.
tell people is like, if you want to change your life, you have to do things differently that you've never done before. And so
Yes.
yeah, it's going to come across like this is crazy. I can't do this. It's so much. But again, that's just the limiting, mindset trying to keep you small. And so
Yep.
once you can work through that, and so I tell people like if you're ready to work through that, you're ready to do the personal development work that's required for you to step into the next level of yourself, I'm totally here for you. Like come back when you're ready. And I
Yeah.
just move on to the next person.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
reminder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a mentorship coming up in our community on
Mhm.
September 9th. And yeah, have you done any mentorships in our community before? And how was that for you?
So
Was that?
yeah, so this is a great, I'm so glad you're talking about this. So I think this is what really drives me to be the leader I want to be, which is that when I came into this business, I didn't have a mentorship. I didn't have
Mm,
somebody who was like telling me how to run a successful business. So I went from like, a complete worker bee from a 9 to 9 job for all those years to then like not really having a clue what entrepreneurship really was or how to run a successful business, be a leader that I needed to be to step into that role and be there to support people and all the things. And so it's really just in the last year, I've worked with some 7-figure earners in our company and paid thousands of
amazing.
dollars to work with them. But
Amazing.
yeah, and I've just learned so much about really just who I want to be and how I want to lead people. And And yeah, I'm super excited to just see where that goes. But no, I didn't ever have a mentorship. The first time I experienced the mentorship was actually in this community. Um, and just seeing how the leaders ran it was just incredible because it was so supportive for people and really just kind of like didn't overwhelm them. Like I felt super overwhelmed in the beginning because I didn't have a leadership or like a leader like walking me through like, okay, do this now or go through this or whatever. I wasn't in TFE before, so I just really didn't have like a direction. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be incredible and I'm super excited to like help as much as I can. Of course, I'm going off and having surgery, but I have helped in the past and I'm like I love the leadership role. Like, that's just who I
Yeah.
was born to be. Like I actually I actually wrote the policy and implemented the first ever tactical dispatch team for the police department that I worked for. So like
Wow.
they had never had SWAT dispatchers. And I was just like, well, they sent me to school to be a SWAT dispatcher. And I was like, well, when am I going to get the opportunity to use this if we don't have a team, So let's build it, let's make it. And then I helped do that. And I was a team leader and ran that for a while. And yeah, and so
Do you miss doing that? Or and how long ago did you leave? Because I was going to
yeah.
wrap it up, but I forgot to even ask that because that could be an
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Yeah, the synchronicities in life, right? So in 2019, I had applied to leave for medical retirement. I was also the first dispatcher that ever retired medically for our department. And so I
So when you
I
went on medical leave, you never went back.
Right. So that was, well, so let me back up. I went on medical leave the first time in 2015, and then I only was off for 6 months. I had to go back.
Okay.
Like I had
Okay.
to, they basically told me if you don't come back, you're not going to have your job. And
Yeah.
so I went back. But in 2018, I went back off again because there was just no way I couldn't physically do the job anymore. And at that point was really experiencing a lot of like PTSD and all kinds of stuff that I had never gone through before. Um, and it was during that time that actually I had gone to uh, it's a first responders retreat where you learn all about the subconscious mind and just where you store your trauma and all of these things. And when I came back from that retreat, I was telling my dad, like, Dad, this is the first time that I was actually able to be with people who understood me, people that were like me
Mhm.
and understood me. And and this was before, our community too. And I just was like, finally saw an alter like an alternate route. I just finally for the first time saw like, okay, wait, maybe I can do something else, maybe there is something else out there for me. And that kind of prompted me to really start the process of trying to apply for retirement. So that was around 2019, and then I was still waiting for the yes or no decision. And at that point I was like, well, that's when the water came into my life. And I was like, wait, I can do this business too. So let me just do it and we'll see what happens with my retirement. And literally, like, I got started April 17th in 2020 for Enagic, and I got approved for my retirement on the 19th. And I was just like,
Wow.
what? Like,
That's
yeah,
during
like,
COVID too, right? During
hmm
lockdowns?
yeah,
Wow. So like
yeah.
all three in a row. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting, like how our journey kind of goes in life. Like I believe we're always where we're meant to be at any given time. And the community that I actually like heard about the water with, I didn't actually join them because I knew I had a lot of personal development and a lot of work to do on myself. And I needed to find that support system and that the community that was actually pushing that work. Like, hey, this is how you get here. Like you need to, you know, do all the things and like really work on yourself. That's really the key in anything in life.
Yeah.
And and so I didn't end up joining that other community, and they've gone on to be super successful and great for them, but it just wasn't my time. Like I really feel
Mhm.
like, I could have looked back and been like so negative about it and been like, "Oh my gosh, I should have joined them." But honestly, like we are always where we're meant to be, and I was meant to do the healing journey, the healing work, to get myself to be able to step into this position and hold lots of money and be able to be the leader I need to be, like
Yeah.
those things were just not in my radar back then. So
Yeah. Yeah, because if you
yeah,
can't lead yourself, and I keep like relearning that over and over again, especially now in this kind of new circumstance with three-step kids and the pups and
Mm,
my husband and all these things. I'm like doing deeper healing that I didn't realize. And that's
hmm
where for me, like sales, it's actually like a mirror doing the shadow work.
hmm
Because yeah, if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead others? And if you haven't done your own
Yeah.
money stories, how are you going to
Yeah.
support others with that? Or, even just with the health. And as you said, to
Yeah.
kind of know and navigate, okay, this person isn't open right now, but when they are, they can come back. And just to be able to say that, because even that, if you're a people pleaser, which I'm kind of recovering
Yes, I
people pleaser,
was. Yep.
you
Same
can
here.
keep going on and wanting to help, but they're not
hmm
ready. So it's okay,
Yeah.
let's move on and help the person who is ready, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and learning to help ourselves first,
Yes. Yeah.
that's been a big
Fill up
one
our
for
cup.
me, is especially being a single mom and, always taking care of everybody else around me in life. And
Yeah.
it's really become like super clear, like, okay, wait, how am I taking care of myself today? What are the things
Yeah.
I need to do for myself today? And it's just made me a whole different person. Like I'm much more happier, and yeah, I like literally get out of bed and like excited, to like who's in my inbox. Like I literally have so many messages I need to respond to right now. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna like the old me would be like in a panic, like, oh my gosh, I
Yes.
gotta respond or I'm gonna lose these leads. And the new me is like, no, like these people, if they're meant for me, they're gonna be there. They're gonna be in the inbox, and
Yeah.
I get to it when I can. I like my priority is not overwhelming myself, and making sure my central nervous system is taken care of first. So,
I love that. Well, it's so
yeah.
nice to meet you here, and hopefully, I will meet you soon. Maybe next year in Vegas, or
Yes.
sooner. And yeah, we'll definitely connect more if you want to do another interview or whatnot. But thank you so much for sharing your story and just sharing your
Thank you.
authenticity. And I'm so grateful to know that you healed and that you're helping more people to do the same, and
Yes.
also to navigate, not having to be stuck in a workspace because that can be really stressful and also
Yeah.
affect the body a lot as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm walking proof of that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank
So
you
nice
so
to meet
much.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great night.
Bye, you too.
Bye.